Not long after landing in Hollywood, I scored a modeling deal and a drug habit. I remember my agent telling me, "You need to lose 10 pounds in 2 days. Here's some coke, sweetie." In the 80s, drugs were just an everyday part of life on the Sunset Strip.
What was your drug of choice?
Pills, lots of pills. Yeah, we love to take the pills.
Quaaludes.
Halcyon, Valium, Xanax, Percodan, like Thorazine.
And then I graduated to snorting heroin.
Mr. Brownstone.
Cocaine.
Crack cocaine. Coke.
Gacked. Booze.
Beer bonging.
Alcohol.
Weed bonging.
Blackout drunk.
It was dangerous as all hell.
I'm working on maybe 8 or 9 brain cells, but those are some of the greatest moments of my life.
In the early 80s, our era of excess was in full swing. The party on the Strip was raging non-stop, and people were showing up from all over the world.
Everybody was moving to Hollywood to try and make it big.
There was this awesome sense of community.
Definitely a sense of community. In that everybody was with everybody else's girlfriend.
Tons of musicians created crazy competition. It was go big or go home.
Now we've got to prove ourselves not only to Los Angeles, but to the rest of the world now.
Quiet Riot was the first to get signed with Mental Health in 1983. Motley Crue came next with Shout at the Devil. Suddenly, the race to score a record deal was on. Bands had to step it up to stand out.
We made a complete show out of it.
There's a lot of people that will just do anything to be a star.
It was like the Sex Pistols meets Kiss on acid.
The more bizarre you appeared, the greater chance that they would embrace you.
Wasp was an LA band of psychos known for their no-holds-barred stage shows.
True metal bands is a bunch of middle linebackers out there on the stage playing music. You got to be willing to go out and, kick the crap out of somebody when you're out there. And if you're not, you better not be on that stage because you're going to get hurt.
Blackie, Lawless, and Wasp were a real event in Hollywood. They would bring a sense of Alice Cooper theater taken to an extreme.
We're talking throwing raw meat at the audience and acts of torture on stage.
Standing back there watching when I get hit with a piece of, rump roast or, tri-tip.
Wasp built insane buzz with the help of a young runaway from Barstow, California, named Pamela Manning.
One of the first people that I met was Blackie Lawless. He actually got the band members together and said, "She's part of the band, treat her like she's part of the band."
But the role they created for her was truly bizarre.
I wound up being this girl that was strapped on the rack.
She'd come on stage, and Blackie would start torturing her. And the crowd would go, "Yeah, yeah, yeah."
The chief of police got word that we were playing here and gets me on the phone. He says, "If what I hear is true, I'm coming down there," and he says, "I'm personally going to arrest you."
I thought it was fun to blow people away. That was just my mindset back when I was young. I didn't know it was going to haunt me for the rest of my life, but it did.
Looking back, it's pretty shocking how far some of us were willing to go in the name of rock and roll.
Men just treated women terrible.
There was no respect for them.
I don't know if it's a turn-on to be discriminated against sexually. It's not for me. I'll kick their ass. But maybe it is from some girls. I don't know.
When I think of how we treated a lot of women, we were kind of, we objectified women, and I'm not proud of that.
It was shameful. The things that bands were allowed to get away with in those days.
It's the age-old guys get famous and girls get the shaft. No pun intended. Wasp got signed to a major label in 1984 and never looked back. Pamela spent a few more years working the Strip as a video vixen before her lifestyle caught up with her.
It actually caused me to have anxiety attacks and felt like I couldn't breathe. I was brought to the hospital because it was too much for me. Hollywood's a whirlwind, you know, that would just, you know, spin around and just suck you in and then spit you out. You get to that point where it's like, enough is enough. I gotta walk away.
Back home in Louisiana, my nickname was Boobless Bobbie. But on the strip, image was everything, so I needed to up my game. Solution? Boob job. 4 cup sizes later, I caught the eye of Warrant's Jani.
I just flipped on the TV for whatever reason, and Star Search was on.
Here is the exquisite Bobbie Brown.
And there's Bobbie Brown. And I was like, she's very hot. So I called my manager and I said, can you find this girl? And he said, sure.
And the rest is music video history. From that point on, Bobbie Jean Brown would forever be known as the Cherry Pie Girl.
That song, which was written literally in hours, has had more staying power than anything else I've written.
As the video hit the boob tube, Jani and I started dating. Cherry Pie became one of the biggest songs of the era.
It was singled out as, you know, this is the ultimate sexist video ever aired on MTV.
This was an exaltation of the man-woman relationship at its most primal level. You're my chick. You exist for one reason. To feed my mojo.
I got a lot of grief from, you know, the women's livers, you know, and I was just like, oh, please, breathe. Sex is alive and well, people, really.
Why? Because there's something back there I want to show you. 9/10 of the songs in the 80s were about girls. It's kind of odd that they were willing to put up with songs that were mostly kind of almost misogynistic.
I remember times where I just thought, man, that is so degrading. But then again, the girls would dress up like hookers and walk around.
It's really fun to watch all the sluts walk by.
And in some ways, it kind of hurt the image of women because they got this name attached to them. Sluts.
We were young, we were stupid, and we just didn't care.
There were a lot of girls that showed up on the Sunset Strip that would stand in line to have a one-night stand with these rock gods.
Sometimes you push girls to see how far they'd go before they said no, just to see what you could do.
Motley Crue did a lot of nasty things, and I'd say they're probably the king of the bad boys.
I had met a girl, and I had to go to the Crue show, so I took her with me. The minute I got backstage, Nikki looks at her and he says, I want to you. She doesn't say no, so he pulled her pants down and had sex with her in full view of everybody. And it really kind of shocked me, but she could have said no and she could have stopped it. Why didn't she?
Those were crazy days, and the consequences of all that promiscuity were really foul.
Crabs! Oh, God.
Oh, my God.
It was just the nastiest thing.
No, I can't even discuss it.
I seem to recall a big crab outbreak.
It seems like every band went through at least one dose of that.
I've never had those things, unless it was for dinner. Alaskan ones, big ones.
Our tour bus was so infested with crabs, they had to come on the bus and fumigate it. It was like a rolling seafood restaurant.
Somebody had sex with one girl and then two girls.
I didn't start the crab epidemic. I remember Smith got them. I know Stephen had them.
Stephen was the one. Sorry, I'm telling you the truth.
I never got the crabs, so thank God.
We paid the price physically and emotionally for a lot of things we did. As hard as it may be to believe, for many women on the Strip, it was worth it.
They were talented and they were creating this great music, and to just be a part of that at all, you know, you felt fortunate.
Sometimes you do things for art.
Adriana Smith and Steven Adler had dated about a year when she made a contribution to GNR's debut album. Her gift solidified the band's reputation in 1987 as the renegades of the Strip.
Something came up about girlfriend-boyfriendism. Steven looked at me and he said, no, you're not my girlfriend, you're not my girlfriend. And I said, oh yeah?
Adriana was pissed off and wanted to make Steven jealous. So she headed right to the studio to hang out with Axl and Slash.
We were mixing the album, and Axl comes in and he listens to the mix that we have, and he looks and he says, the song's not finished yet.
Axl came and he laid his head on my lap and he got all serious. And he looked at me and he said, Adriana, you know, I want to talk to you about something that's very serious and very special and important to me, and nobody else will do this.
He basically says, I'm gonna make you famous, I'm gonna you, I'm gonna mic it up and we're gonna put it in this song and it'll go into the history books, kind of a thing.
And I was like, for the band. Sure, no problem, for the band. And a bottle of Jack Daniels.
I was kind of surprised because it was Steven's girlfriend.
Her whole motto was, for the band, I'm doing it for the band.
He got this big eaten grin all over his face, and they mic'd the floor of this vocal booth and dimmed the lights, and we just got busy.
She became the voice of the Rocket Queen.
The Rocket Queen, that was Smith. She did the deed.
Rocket Queen became the most infamous track on the debut album. Released in July of '87, Appetite for Destruction became the third biggest seller in hard rock history.
The next morning, I woke up with a headache and kind of realizing what I'd done. The whole Rocket Queen thing at the time was not a glorious heyday of an event. It was kind of something that it weighed on my soul.
The band headed out on a world tour, and Adriana was left behind with a little more than a hangover and a big dose of regret.
I got really, really strung out on drugs and really, really lost, and I was really ashamed.
The whole irony of it is the minute that these guys got any success, those girls were left in the wake.
If you weren't right there on the ship, then you were washed away.
Got a picture of your house, and you're standing by the door.
6 months after my MTV debut as the Cherry Pie Girl, I was living my own little slice of heaven.
I don't need to be the king of the world, as long as I'm the hero of it.
At the ripe old age of 21, I married Jani Lane, the lead singer of Warrant. We bought a big house, had a daughter, and hoped for the best.
It was very fairy tale at the time. And then, of course, the marriage went south, and things got very heavy from that point on, because it was like divorce. Your child's not living with you anymore.
It's always sad. Like, it's not something you get into and want to happen, you know? Of course I wanted it to work. It was just that at that time I didn't see a future because of all the pain that was inflicted.
There's not a lot of lasting relationships from that period of time. They mostly blew up.
It's painful when you think about breaking up with somebody or getting your heart broken, but it makes for the best music.
You see, real men don't cry over breakups. They write rock ballads instead.
So many of those songs, those big hits, came out of relationships with these girls.
Tracy Crosby was 16 and living with her parents in 1984 when she met Bret Michaels outside the Troubadour in Hollywood.
When I met Bret, I'd never heard of Poison before. They'd just gotten into town not too long before that from Pennsylvania, so he was fresh off the boat.
They began dating, and Tracy shacked up with Bret and his bandmates in a warehouse.
We took all the money that we could forge up, which was about $42 at the time, you know, after we sold everything, and we came out here and just with the determination to succeed.
Poison's first album, Look What the Cat Dragged In, came out in August of '86 and rocketed to #3 on the charts. Tracy soon felt the trappings of success.
People would come and say things to me all the time, like, you know, I slept with your boyfriend, you're so stupid. I've had my hair pulled in the face, slapped in the face, tripped and pushed, and you name it.
She and Bret dated 4 years before things fell apart.
We were kids and we were trying to hold something together that just really didn't have a chance. And we were, you know, breaking up and making up and breaking up and making up. It was really, really hard. And the beginning of that song is a description of that time where we laid there and it was so uncomfortable and it was so, you know, you knew it was the end.
We both lie silently still in the dead of the night. Although we both lie close together, we feel miles apart inside.
When I wrote Every Rose, I was blaming myself as much for the situation. The lyrics weren't just one-sided. It's both.
Though I tried not to hurt you, though I tried, but I guess that's why they say every rose has its thorn.
He wrote the song on paper and gave it to me.
I wrote that song with no intention of it ever being a hit. That song was just for me.
He would write hundreds and hundreds of letters. And so it started out as that kind of thing. And it sort of evolved and changed a little bit and then ended up on the record.
Every rose has its thorn.
I don't think that he didn't want our relationship to work out. I think he just wanted this other thing in this other life so desperately that it really consumed him.
Though it's been a while now, I can still feel so much pain.
Everybody has that day in their life when their heart was broken. Unfortunately for me, that song is that day in my life. And I get to hear it over and over and over.
And now I found somebody new.
Tracy's heartbreak inspired the hair band ballad of the decade. Every Rose hit the airwaves in 1988 and was Poison's first and only #1 hit. Its success inspired dozens of copycats.
That's where these bands got to their next level, was showing their heart, showing their sensitivity.
2 rock songs, and the 3rd single would be a power ballad, like the closer. It kind of seemed like it was a format for a while.
Power ballads opened up glam rock to the mainstream masses.
When you finally make it to the arena, you got to have the lighter song.
By 1989, glam rock was a worldwide phenomenon. Our guys weren't hanging out on the strip anymore, and the scene as we knew it was fading away. The bands got the fame and fortune. We just got the heartbreak.
It's frustrating because it's something that just, it never goes away. I think people love the song and people keep it alive. Here we are 23 years later and I'm here because of the song. You know, it's just, you know, I'm that girl.
Every rose has its thorn.
After nearly a decade, the scene on the Sunset Strip had hit its peak. The big bands were touring the world, but I was still here, divorced, a single mom, strung out on drugs, losing my mind. Looking back now, I was lucky to survive, and I wasn't the only one.
How crazy were some of those parties? They went all night long and all next day?
No, it wasn't all night long. It wasn't all next day. It was 1 to 2, 3 weeks.
People didn't know when to stop. Nobody cut anybody off. Ever.
There were nights that I laid there and I thought that I wouldn't make it. I thought, you know what, I did too many drugs.
Dee Holland was a 23-year-old single mom who had just finished dating Stephen Piercy from Rat when she met another titan of the Strip, Nikki Sixx. Motley Crue had just released Theater of Pain and were known as the ultimate bad boys of rock.
When you were around them, you felt like you were indestructible.
I think we thought we were invincible.
You felt like you had like this sort of power that was just supernatural almost.
Dee says she and Nikki dated, if you want to call it that, for 6 months. She says their relationship was built on a dangerous love affair with drugs.
I remember him saying to me, you know, if I continue to hang around with you, I'm gonna die. And, you know, that stuck with me because I thought, my gosh, when you've got somebody from Motley Crue telling you that if they're gonna hang around with you, they're gonna die, you're a mess.
Dee says on a normal night, she would roll by Nikki's and they'd party till sunrise. But when she showed up on the night of December 23rd, 1987, it was anything but normal.
My sister and I, we went over there one night and he wasn't there. And we're like, this is really weird, Nikki's always home. And so we got sort of this overwhelming feeling that something was wrong.
Dee's premonition was spot on. Nikki was partying with friends at a hotel in Hollywood when things got out of control.
I look down, and Nikki's on the floor purple. So I'm like, oh my God. So I push the door open, and I had a cast on my hand. I fractured my finger, and I was dragging him into the bathroom to put him in the bathtub and put the cold water on him.
Meanwhile, Dee and her sister were across town waiting at his house, their eerie panic growing by the minute.
By this time, it was 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and we just got this overwhelming feeling that he was dying. And so my sister and I, we said, what do we do, you know? We grabbed hands, we said, let's pray. Tears were pouring down our face. We just were praying, you know, just God, spare his life.
I was slapping him in the face with my cast, and the color went from purple to white. It just went straight down.
Nikki was declared dead for over 2 minutes before paramedics were able to revive him with 2 shots of adrenaline to the heart.
And he calls me in the morning. He goes, dude, what the happened? I said, dude, you threw purple on me. He says, But dude, my face is killing me. I said, I was slapping her in the face with my cast ass. Why do you think it was killing you? You were purple.
Was Nikki's death the wake-up call?
Yeah, that was a huge wake-up call. I remember one night, I was in Palm Springs, sitting in a grotto with Nikki, Tommy Lee, and Heather Locklear, and I looked around at the three of them, and I thought to myself, you know what? They're successful. And you know, when we leave here, they're going home to their, mansions, and they're going home to their, careers and their successful lives, and I'm gonna go home and, and try to sleep off the drugs that I had just done for the last few days.
We were all racing towards a brick wall, and some of us eventually hit it.
It kind of took some people around us dying to just go, whoa, what are you doing? That's real,
Who died? Who comes to mind either during that time frame or as a result of that time frame?
1, 2, 3, like 5 or 6 of my closer friends.
A lot of people died.
Most of them OD'd on
The
junk.
guy in the apartment 2 doors down that you just
A couple of
partied
girls in the business committed suicide.
There are several fallen angels.
God, so many people are gone.
Why me? Why didn't it happen to me? What? It's a trip.
After more than a decade of total debauchery, it was like someone called the fun police. Grunge hit like a hurricane in 1991, blowing away our glam rock scene overnight.
Baby, I get so scared inside and I don't really understand.
We'd come to the dead end of an era, but for many of us who made it out alive, the nightmare was only beginning.
Sometimes it's hard to hold on, so hard to hold on to my dreams.
My breast implants started to leak and I got really sick with lupus. My hair started to fall out and all my so-called friends deserted me.
When things are happening for you at the top of your game, there's a ton of people who are your supporters and your friends, like, I'm there for you, man, I'm your best friend. When you start to go downhill, that's when, they start scattering. It's pretty devastating, I went from overconfidence to a hermit.
All alone, I pulled the ripcord and went home to Louisiana to enter rehab. My mom stepped in to care for my daughter. Life as I knew it was over.
Close your eyes. You gotta close your eyes for me.
My crazy years on the Sunset Strip were some of the best of my life, but I have real scars from my time there. For those of us who survived, it's a lifelong detox.
I've been working on my sobriety since '95.
This time around, I'll have 9 months.
20 years now.
March 3rd will be 20 years.
It's been 15 years.
Drugs don't rule my life. I'm not that girl anymore, and that's good.
We're in our 40s now, and sometimes it's shocking to look back under the bright lights of sobriety.
Where we place these girls, historically, they're almost like damaged heroines.
The Strip has changed us. As with every part of your life, it makes you who you are today. You did what you did. Now do something else. You know what I mean?
I became a Christian, actually. I just reached out and said, I need you.
I have an 8-year-old, first of all, okay? There's days when I still don't think I'm good enough as a mom. How could somebody like me, a big stripper drug addict, slut, basically, who would have thought I would be a mom? And I'm a damn good mom.
When you're being something for somebody else for so long, it's hard to be who you are. And it took me a while, but I finally found who I was.
through those hard times, I became very humble. And that humbleness gave me the ability to have the heart that I had for my children and raise them the way that I did, and I'm pretty proud of that.
My life is completely different. I am completely different as a person, who I am, my morals, my beliefs, my boundaries, everything. Everything's changed. Remember who I used to be. I can't even relate to her anymore. So I didn't exactly fulfill all my dreams for my life. But hey, there's still time. Besides, just like the music, I'll live on forever, preserved in cherry pie.
These bands, they were the ones, and the women behind them, or next to them, or on top of them, they were the inspiration. Give them props, because they deserve it.
The band wouldn't have been as successful as it was if it wasn't for Adriana and Gabby.
I want to give credit to, most importantly, to a lot of the female fans early on. Without a doubt, Poison would have starved to death and or returned home had they not brought us food, so thank you.
I had fun because I was young and stupid.
Regret is a waste of time. It really is.
I have Aquanet in my car right now, you know, maybe just to spray this part back.
It was the best, absolutely the best time of my life.
That pretty much sums it up, yeah.